رسوله الكريم أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Again, we know that Sundays are dedicated for mentioning something from the seerah of our beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Last week we mentioned regarding Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's exertion regarding worship. Even though Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was a very busy individual, not only maintaining his and fulfilling his responsibilities as a prophet and a messenger, he was a family man, he was a head of state, commander-in-chief, and many other roles that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam played in his lifetime, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never gave up exerting and pushing himself in worship of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Last week we mentioned regarding Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's daily practice regarding nawafil, and the love Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had for Qiyam al-Layl. So much so that we know the very famous hadith, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would stand so long that his feet will swell up. And on seeing that, his beloved wife, our mother Aisha radiallahu anha, she inquired from Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that, Ya Rasulullah, your previous, your future, all your sins, shortcomings are forgiven. Why do you exert yourself so much? And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam responded that, shall I not be a thankful servant of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? فَلَا أَكُونَ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. And that was enough to explain to that generation. It was enough that أَفَلَا أَكُونَ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. Maybe fast forwarding to our generation and into the future, we might need further explanation that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam exerted himself so much, even after being already confirmed the most beloved human being to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. We might need further explanation using modern day examples. So we can look into some of those, but before we do, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's practice in fasting. How did Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam exert himself in regards to fasting? The narration is narrated by Humayd أنه سمع أنس رضي الله عنه يقول كان رسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يفطر من الشهر حتى نظن ألا يصوم منه ويصوم حتى نظن ألا يفطر منه شيئا وكان لا تشاء أن تراه من الليل مصليا إلا رأيته ولا نائما إلا رأيته. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would fast during entire months. This is Anas radiallahu anhu mentioning his experience and his observation of our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That Anas radiallahu anhu would see Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam fasting entire months. So much so that we would assume that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he fasted the entire month. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would at times also leave fasting until Anas radiallahu anhu, he mentions that we would assume that maybe he won't fast again in that month. So this was the practice of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's practice at night time was also that if anyone wanted to see Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam offering Qiyam al-Layl, they would be able to see and witness Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam offering Qiyam al-Layl. And if anyone wanted to see Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sleeping at night time, they would also be able to see Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his household, sleeping during the night time. This is one hadith. Another hadith mentions Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's compassion and love for the ummah. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إِيَّاكُمْ وَالْوِصَالِ مرتين قيل إنك تواصل قال إني أبيت يطعمني ربي ويسقين فاكلفوا من العمل ما تطيقون. This narration, again, it shows the love Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had for the ummah. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam cautioned his companions radiallahu anhum from continuous fast. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam cautioned the ummah that do not continuously fast. Take a break. And we know the fasting of Dawood alayhi salam was the most preferred type of fasting Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam prescribed for the ummah. If anyone wants to continuously fast, they should imitate the fast of Dawood alayhi salam. That was, you fast one day and you break it one day, and then the next day you fast again, and you're taking the true definition of intermittent fasting. We know Ramadan is prescribed on us as fard, but it's always something trending in the world, even in the non-Muslim world. The non-Muslim world, a very trendy topic now is intermittent fasting and the benefits of intermittent fasting. Well, before the non-Muslim world even discovered that, we've already had it long in practice. And of course the non-Muslims, they do it for health benefits. People want to lose weight very quickly, but we do it for the reward and pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All these secondary benefits, they already come. The ultimate and the primary, we mentioned yesterday, maintaining sincerity in our intentions. Everything that we do, we should try and protect our worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala free from ulterior motives. And that is one of the ulterior motives of fasting nowadays, is losing weight and other health benefits. Of course, we know that already comes with the package, but let us keep the sincerity in our intention that we're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, exclusive for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So going back to the explanation regarding Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's exertion on pushing himself to always maintain engagement in worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though our mother Aisha radiallahu anha, she kind of allowed for a preliminary explanation why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam exerted himself so much in ibadah. So for you and I nowadays, in our modern day era, we can easily understand that if we look at people, and there are many people all throughout the world who push themselves from a worldly perspective. For example, there are some people who, again, we'll give the non-Muslim example. They wake up very early, maybe 4 o'clock in the morning. Non-Muslims wake up, and if we have the opportunity to wake up that early, you'll see them, not only are they going to the gym, they're sort of health conscious, they also very early, maybe on your drive here, you'll see people walking their dog. You'll see people tending, or they're taking a quick stroll, quick jog in the morning. So different people have different goals, life goals. So people are able to push themselves in worldly matters. Even if we look at it from an income perspective. People, yesterday I met a brother who's working, he said at times he has 2 jobs, at the same time 3 jobs. So I asked him what's going on, how are you able to maintain so many jobs? He said, well, the remote job opportunities have provided so much opportunity that he's able to work remote. He was working for another state, but they said, you're absolutely fine working in your home remotely, and then as soon as he finishes those responsibilities, he's able to join another one. And then he has a family, and then he has relaxation, and all of these things. I was just, the best example is people are exerting and pushing themselves from a worldly perspective. They said, this is my time right now, I'm young, I have energy, I have that drive in me to push myself from a worldly perspective, because once a person becomes older, that exertion kind of dwindles and decreases. A person is not able to do in their older days what they did in their younger days. So that's one way to understand that if a person can push themselves and see the benefit from a worldly perspective, then of course we can understand Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam exerting himself from a hereafter perspective. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam seeing the benefit, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam understood it and appreciated his relationship with Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So that was one way that we can understand nowadays in our generation that why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam exerted himself so much, even from a hereafter perspective, because we see many examples from a dunyawi perspective. People are exerting themselves and pushing themselves. Another reason why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam exerted and pushed himself so much, but at the same time Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam cautioned the Ummah. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam cautioned the Ummah and mentioned and reminded you and I that allow yourselves to do ibadah that you are able to maintain consistently. You don't want to all of a sudden one day spike. Maybe 1 week we spike in ibadah, and then the next remainder of the year there's zero. So it's better to maintain consistency in worship. That's why here in these narrations today we find Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam forbidding Sawm al-Wisal, continuous fasting. We also know the famous story regarding Taraweeh prayer. When initially Taraweeh prayer was introduced to the Ummah, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the first few days he came, and then the next remainder, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not offer it in Jama'ah, because if Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam continued with it, it would have become fard to offer Taraweeh, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam understood. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he went to Mi'raj, we know the famous story, 50 prayers. 50 prayers were made fard. And then back and forth, Musa alayhi salam, he told Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that go back to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, request a sort of discount, a decrease. Your ummah will not be able to handle 50 prayers, then 45, 40, continuously until 5. Even then, 5 salawat. Musa alayhi salam said, go back and request a decrease. And then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that I'm shy, I'm embarrassed to go back anymore to request a decrease from 5 salawat. And then we know that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala made a very unique equation for you and I, that even though it's 5 salawat, whoever offers it is multiplied by 10. So we're right back at 50 reward potential regarding our prayers. And finally, why did Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam exert himself so much in worship? It's a beautiful example for you and I to appreciate. Very subtle, but very deep meaning is that a leader of a people should always be doing more than the followers. The leader should always, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam left that example for you and I and for future generations, that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam being our prophet and our messenger, our leader, we have beautiful examples that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went above and beyond what he preached. He always did more. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was directly involved. He was always physically there. It's just not he was on a throne, in a high pedestal, and he was just giving orders. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was in the thick of it, doing it, performing it. Whatever Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam preached, he practiced it, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, above and beyond. So these are the reminders regarding our beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Let us continuously learn more and more about our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. May Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala increase the love for our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in our hearts. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.